Emergency alert. Avoid all mirrors until further notice. The unsettling feeling didn't arrive with a bang, but with a flicker, insidious and easily dismissed. It was late, maybe pushing 1 a.m. The house hushed except for the low hum of the refrigerator and the distant sigh of wind outside. I was rinsing a glass in the kitchen sink, staring absently out the window above it into the black rectangle of the backyard. For just a fraction of a second, my reflection seemed wrong. Not distorted exactly, but lagging. My hand moved to the faucet, and the reflection's hand hesitated a beat before mimicking the action. I blinked, shook my head. Too much screen time today. Eyes playing tricks in the dim light, reflecting off the dark glass. Must be tired. I dried my hands, the rough texture of the towel a grounding sensation. Upstairs, Maya was already asleep. Our daughter, Lily, was staying overnight at her cousin's across town. A small mercy, I'd later realize, though at the time it was just a normal Friday night arrangement. If only I'd known it was the last normal night. If only I'd called Lily, told her I would come and get her right then, driven away from Oak Haven without looking back. But all I did was yawn and head towards the living room. The TV was off, its large screen a blank, obsidian void. As I passed it, I caught my reflection again in its polished surface. This time, the feeling of wrongness was stronger, undeniable. My reflected image stood perfectly still for a beat longer than it should have, even as I continued walking past. It was like watching a video feed with a slight delay, except it was me. A cold prickle traced its way up my spine. I stopped, turned back, peered into the dark screen. My reflection stared back. Perfectly normal now, mimicking my cautious expression. I let out a shaky breath, forcing a laugh. Okay, Dan, definitely time for bed, I muttered to the empty room. But the unease lingered, a cloying film on my thoughts. Upstairs, the hallway motion sensor light flickered erratically as I passed beneath it, casting jumping shadows that seemed to ride with unnatural life. Usually it was a steady, reliable glow. Tonight, it pulsed like a dying heart. In the bathroom, I avoided looking directly into the large vanity mirror as I brushed my teeth, the earlier incident with the TV screen making me inexplicably wary. I focused on the sink basin, the sound of the electric toothbrush vibrating loudly in the quiet house. Then a sound from downstairs. A faint discordant chime, like a notification from a phone, but warped, twisted. My phone was on the nightstand, silent. Maya's was probably downstairs on the kitchen counter. I finished brushing, rinsed my mouth, the metallic tang of the water sharp on my tongue. As I straightened up, my gaze inadvertently flicked to the mirror. My reflection looked back. Its eyes seemed wider, darker, and for a terrifying, heart-stopping moment, the corners of his mouth seemed to curl upwards into a faint, knowing smirk that wasn't on my own face. I recoiled, stumbling back against the door, my heart hammering against my ribs. The reflection instantly snapped back to mimicking my own shocked expression. Coincidence? Fatigue? A trick of the low light and my own rising panic? I didn't wait to analyze it. I practically fled the bathroom, pulling the door shut behind me, my hand trembling as I reached for the bedroom doorknob. Inside our room, Maya slept soundly, her breathing soft and even. Moonlight slanted through the window, bathing her face in pale light. She looked peaceful, untouched by the creeping rawness I felt saturating the house. I checked my phone on the nightstand. 1:48 a.m. No signal bars. Strange. Wi-Fi icon gone too. Then the screen lit up unprompted, not with a call or notification, but with the stark white letters of an emergency alert system message against a black background. The text, however, was fragmented, glitchy, parts fading in and out, accompanied by that same faint, warped chime I'd heard earlier. Ational alert, he'd immediately avoid all MUR until further notice. Reflective surfaces compromised. Do not engage. Repeat. Avoid all mirrors. Helter in place. Transmission end. It cut off abruptly. The screen going black. Completely dead this time. No amount of button pressing brought it back to life. Avoid all mirrors. Reflective surfaces compromised. The words echoed the visceral wrongness I'd felt looking at my own reflection. Panic, cold and sharp, seized me. Compromised how? What did it mean? Suddenly, the bedside lamp flickered violently, then went out. Downstairs, I heard another light pop and die. Then another, one by one. The faint glows visible under the doorways extinguished, plunging the house into a deeper, more absolute darkness, broken only by the weak moonlight filtering through the windows. Outside, the familiar orange glow of the streetlights vanished. The entire neighborhood, the entire town, was plunged into blackness. Oakhaven was cut off, isolated, adrift in the sudden, oppressive silence. The silence itself felt wrong, heavy, like a blanket smothering the world. No distant cars, no barking dogs, no hum of electricity. Just nothing. Maya stirred beside me, woken by the sudden plunge into darkness. "Dan? Power's out?" she murmured drowsily. "Yeah." I managed, trying to keep the tremor out of my voice. "Looks like the whole street." She mumbled, already drifting back to sleep. Should I wake her? Tell her about the alert, the reflections? It sounded insane. How could mirrors be dangerous? She'd think I was losing my mind. Maybe it was just a massive power failure. The alert, a bizarre glitch caused by the outage. Denial felt safer, easier. But the icy grip of fear around my heart told me otherwise. And then the knocking started. Not at our door. Next door. Old Mr. Henderson's place. 3 distinct, evenly spaced knocks. Knock, knock, knock. Loud in the unnatural stillness. I crept a window, peering through a gap in the curtains. Henderson's house was dark, like ours. No sign of movement. Who would be knocking at his door at this hour, during a blackout? Silence stretched. Then, Henderson's front door opened a crack. A sliver of faint light, maybe from a flashlight, spilled onto the porch. I couldn't see who was there, couldn't hear any voices. The door opened wider. Henderson stood silhouetted in the doorway, peering out. He seemed hesitant. Then he stepped back, allowing someone inside. The door closed, plunging his house back into darkness. My unease intensified. Something felt profoundly wrong about that silent, middle-of-the-night visitor. Why no flashlight from the visitor? Why no greeting? It was too quiet, too smooth. Rule: 3 knocks after dark means it isn't welcome, it's invited. Where did that thought come from? Some half-forgotten ghost story? It surfaced in my mind with chilling certainty. Minutes crawled by. The silence outside remained absolute. I stayed at the window, watching Henderson's house, every nerve ending a light. Suddenly, his upstairs window, the one facing our house, lit up, not with a warm flashlight glow, but with a strobing, flickering light, like a faulty fluorescent tube sputtering to life. On, off, on, off, on, off. 3 times. Then darkness again. Rule: when a neighbor's light flashes thrice, don't approach their house. Don't answer if they call. Another fragment of nonsensical lore bubbling up from nowhere, except, given the AS alert, the reflections, the silent visitor, maybe it wasn't nonsense anymore. Maybe these were the new rules of survival in whatever nightmare Oakhaven had become. The fear was becoming tangible now, a physical presence in the room. I needed to protect Maya, needed to understand what was happening. But information was impossible to get. Phone dead, power out. We were blind, deaf, and trapped. I backed away from the window, my mind racing. Mirrors. Reflective surfaces. The alert was specific. Why? What did they do? I thought about the house. The large mirror in the hall downstairs. The bathroom mirror. The mirrored closet doors in the spare room. The polished surface of the dining table. Even the glass on the family photos lining the mantelpiece. Reflections were everywhere. Unavoidable. I had to cover them. Now. Before what? I didn't know. But instinct screamed at me to act. Moving as quietly as possible, I found blankets, towels, anything opaque. Started with the bedroom mirror, draping a heavy quilt over it. Even the act of covering it felt charged, like I was sealing something away. Maya mumbled in her sleep again, but didn't wake. Thank God. Downstairs, the house felt colder, the silence deeper. The humming I felt earlier seemed absent, replaced by this heavy, watchful quiet. I covered the hall mirror first, its ornate frame seeming to mock me in the gloom. Then the glass panels on the front door, using duct tape to secure pillowcases over them. The TV screen was next, a thick blanket rendering its dark surface harmless. The dining table required 2 tablecloths. It felt absurd, like a child hiding from monsters under the covers. Yet every covered surface brought a sliver of relief. As I smoothed a towel over a framed photo of Lily laughing on a swing, my hand brushed the cold glass. For a terrifying instant, I thought I saw the image flicker, Lily's smile twisting into something else. I snatched my hand back, heart pounding. Just shadows. Had to be, but I taped the towel down firmly anyway. The kitchen window above the sink, the microwave display, even though it was dark, the glass oven door, anything that could hold a reflection. I was working frantically, driven by a primal fear I couldn't explain. A floorboard creaked upstairs. I froze, listening. Silence. Just the house settling? Or Maya? Or something else? I crept to the bottom of the stairs, straining my ears. Nothing. Maybe it was just my imagination, amplified by the darkness and fear. I decided to check the back door, make sure it was locked tight. As I passed the downstairs bathroom, I noticed its door was slightly ajar. I always kept it closed. Had Maya come down earlier? I pushed it open slowly. Moonlight from the small frosted window provided faint illumination, and reflected in the small mirror above the sink. Something moved. It wasn't my reflection. It was standing just behind where I would be, a tall, spindly silhouette, indistinct, its edges seeming to waver like heat haze. It lifted a long, multi-jointed finger and pressed it against the inside of the mirror, tapping silently on the glass from the other side. My breath caught in my throat. Raw terror flooded me, rooting me to the spot. The figure tilted its head, its form shifting, coalescing slightly. For a horrifying moment, it seemed to wear Mr. Henderson's face, but stretched, distorted, eyes wide, empty sockets weeping dark fluid. Rule. Reflections show their true form. The tapping became more insistent. Tap, tap, tap. It wanted out, or it wanted me in. I slammed the door shut, fumbling with the lock, my fingers clumsy with panic. The simple click of the bolt felt terrifyingly inadequate against whatever was trapped or waiting behind the silver glass. I leaned against the door, gasping for breath. The image of Henderson's distorted face burned into my retinas. They weren't just compromised. They were doorways, or prisons, or both. I needed a weapon. Something. Anything. The kitchen knives felt flimsy. Then I remembered the old fireplace tools in the living room. Heavy brass, with a solid poker. Better than nothing. As I reached the living room, I heard it, scratching, coming from inside the blanket-covered TV screen. Soft, persistent, like fingernails dragging across glass. Scritch, scritch, silence. Then a faint, muffled voice. Maya's voice. Dan, let me out. It's dark in here. My blood ran cold. It wasn't coming from upstairs. It was coming from inside the TV, trapped behind the blanket. Dan, please? I saw something in the mirror. The voice sounded convincingly terrified. Exactly like Maya. Rule. Sound travels through reflections. Voices from mirrors are trapped. I backed away slowly, grabbing the heavy brass poker. Its weight was a small comfort. The scratching intensified, grew frantic. The blanket over the screen bulged slightly, as if something was pressing against it from behind. Then silence again. The waiting was agony. Every creak of the house sounded like an approaching footstep. Every shadow seemed to harbor movement. How long could we stay here? What was happening outside? Were we the only ones left? I thought about Lily, across town at her cousin Laura's house. Laura's parents, Mark and Jenny. Were they okay? Had they gotten the alert? Did they know about the mirrors? Guilt gnawed at me. I should have called earlier. Should have insisted Lily stay home. If only. The internal monologue was a torment, useless loops of regret. A soft thud from upstairs. Maya? I crept to the stairs again, listening. Silence. Then her voice, calm and normal this time, calling down. Dan? Honey? Are you okay? What was that noise? Relief warred with suspicion. Was it really her? Or another mimicry? I'm down here. I called back, keeping my voice low. Stay upstairs, Maya. Keep the door closed. What's going on? Her voice held genuine confusion now. Why are the blankets taped everywhere? Dan, you're scaring me. Something's happening, I said, moving halfway up the stairs so she could hear me better without me having to shout. There was an alert about mirrors. We need to stay put and keep them covered. Mirrors? Disbelief colored her tone. What are you talking about? Did you hit your head? No. Just trust me, okay? Stay in the room. Don't look in any mirrors. There was a pause. Then, okay, Dan. Okay. Just please be careful. She sounded scared, but like herself. The fear felt real this time, not hollow like the voice from the TV. Maybe she was okay. Maybe it only affected people who looked directly into a compromised reflection. But the alert said family members weren't to be trusted after a certain time in some versions I'd read about online. While this one focused on mirrors, was there a connection? Could looking into a mirror change you? Or summon something that replaced you? The uncertainty was maddening. I retreated downstairs, heart pounding, sat on the bottom step, poker across my lap, listening for scratching, for tapping, for voices that shouldn't be there, listening to the oppressive silence outside. Time crawled. Minutes felt like hours. My fear began to war with a desperate need for information, for action. We couldn't just wait here indefinitely. What if help wasn't coming? What if whatever was out there found a way in? I thought about the garage. It connected to the kitchen. Maybe there was something useful there. Tools? An old radio? The door to the garage was solid wood. No glass panels. Safer, maybe? I crept into the kitchen, listened at the garage door. Silence. Unlocked it, slipped inside, pulling it shut behind me. Pitch black. I felt along the wall for the light switch. Dead, of course. My hand brushed against something smooth and cold. The small, cheap mirror Maya kept hanging by the door to check her hair. I froze, snatching my hand back as it burned. Had I looked? Even indirectly? I couldn't remember. Panic surged. I squeezed my eyes shut, forcing myself to breathe. Okay, just find what you need and get out. I fumbled my way toward the workbench, hands sweeping through the darkness. Found a heavy wrench, a crowbar, better weapons. Then my fingers closed around a familiar shape of the old battery-powered camping radio. Hope flickered. I clicked it on. Static hissed loudly in the enclosed space. I spun the tuning dial slowly, praying for a signal, a voice, anything. More static. A faint snatch of music, quickly swallowed by noise. Then a voice cutting through the hiss, weak but clear, repeating this message. This is Dr. Eris Thorne at Oak Haven Community Hospital. We are under code Obsidian. Unknown phenomenon linked to reflective surfaces active since approximately 1:45. Initial reports indicate looking into mirrors or similar surfaces after onset can result in personality alteration, mimicry, potential transference. We don't understand the mechanism. Survivors report entities emerging from reflections, distorted appearances in glass. Rules derived from fragmented alerts in local folklore seem crucial. Avoid all reflective surfaces. Cover them immediately. Do not respond to voices from mirrors. Do not trust sudden personality changes in associates or family, especially after potential exposure. 3 flashes of light from a dwelling indicate compromise. 3 knocks may indicate entrapment or invitation by an entity. We are attempting to maintain a safe zone here at the hospital, Block C, basement level. Generators are functional, but fuel is limited. If you can reach us safely, avoiding reflections, repeat, avoiding reflections, communication is unstable, broadcast repeating. The signal dissolved back into static. Transference, mimicry, entities emerging. It confirmed my worst fears. And the hospital, a possible sanctuary? But how could we get there? The streets were dark, likely watched, and reflections were everywhere. Car windows, puddles from the earlier rain, shop fronts. It felt impossible. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the house. Glass shattering. My blood ran cold. Maya? Or something breaking in? Or out? I burst back into the kitchen. Crowbar held high. The scratching from the living room TV had stopped. But the hall mirror, the blanket covering it was torn, lying on the floor. The mirror itself was shattered, radiating cracks from a central impact point. Shards littered the floor. Rule: breaking a mirror might disrupt an entity or release something worse. Had something broken out? Or had Maya come downstairs, panicked, and broken it? Maya? I yelled, my voice tight with fear. Silence. Then a soft whimpering sound from the top of the stairs. I ran towards it, stumbling on a piece of broken mirror glass. Looked up. Maya was huddled on the top step, knees pulled to her chest, shaking. I heard it, she sobbed, her voice thick with tears. Something was scratching inside the wall mirror. I got scared. I threw the lamp. Relief washed over me. So intense my knees almost buckled. It was her. She was okay. She'd broken a mirror, fighting back. It's okay, I said, moving towards her. It's okay, I'm here. I reached the top step, put my arm around her. She felt solid, warm, real. She clung to me, sobbing. What is happening, Dan? What are those things? I don't know. I whispered, holding her tight. But we have to get out of here. There might be a safe place at the hospital. We had to move fast. Gather essentials. Water, first aid kit, the weapons. And crucially, avoid looking at any remaining reflective surfaces, including the treacherous shards of the broken hall mirror. Working together, moving by the weak moonlight, we gathered supplies and backpacks. Maya seemed herself again, terrified but focused. We avoided the downstairs bathroom, kept our eyes downcast as we passed the glittering fragments of the broken mirror. We needed a plan to get to the hospital. Miles across a dark, compromised town. Cutting through backyard seemed safest. Less chance of encountering whatever was out there, and fewer reflective shop windows or car mirrors. But puddles it had rained earlier. The ground would be wet. We found hats, pulled hoods up, tried to minimize the chance of catching an accident reflection. Ready to go, we stood by the back door. One last check. Did we miss anything? My gaze swept the kitchen. The window above the sink, still covered. The microwave, covered. The oven door. I covered it with a tea towel, hastily taped. But the tape had peeled away at one corner, leaving a sliver of dark, reflective glass exposed. And in that sliver, I saw it. A reflection. Maya, standing beside me. But her reflected face wasn't turned towards the door. It was turned towards me, and it was smiling. A wide, predatory grin full of too many teeth. My heart stopped. It wasn't Maya. Not anymore. When had it happened? Had she glanced at a shard of the broken mirror? Or had the transference occurred earlier, and she'd just been mimicking normalcy, waiting for her chance? The thing wearing my wife's face sensed a shift in me. Its smile vanished, replaced by that terrifying blankness I'd seen earlier. It lunged, not at me, but at the backpack containing our water and supplies. Before I could react, it snatched the pack and darted out the back door, moving with unnatural speed into the darkness. No, I yelled, making a follow, but stopped myself. Chasing it was suicide. It knew the rules now, maybe better than I did. It would use reflections, lure me into a trap, and I couldn't leave the house unarmed, unprotected. Rage and despair washed over me. It had taken her, used her face, her voice, her fear, and now it had taken our supplies too, leaving me alone. Or was I alone? Leo. No, Lily. Lily was across town. Safe? Or was Mark and Jenny's house compromised too? The thought was paralyzing. But I couldn't stay here. This house felt violated, unsafe. The hospital was the only hope. Even getting there felt impossible now. Alone, low supplies, and they knew I was active. I took the crowbar, the heavy wrench, found a small bottle of water left in the fridge. Better than nothing. Steel myself, one step at a time. Avoid reflections. Stay in shadow. Get to the hospital. I slipped out the back door, leaving the violated shell of my home behind. The night air was cold, carrying the faint metallic scent of ozone. The silence pressed in, broken only by the frantic thudding of my own heart. I moved to the neighbor's yard, eyes scanning constantly, not just for movement, but for glinting surfaces, guarding gazing balls, wet leaves, even the glint in the nocturnal animals I felt potentially hostile. I crossed the street, sticking to the deepest shadows. A car parked at the curb loomed large. I averted my gaze from its windows, its polished paintwork, the chrome trim, resisted the urge to look at my own faint reflection as I passed. Further down the block, I heard it, a faint, rhythmic tapping, coming from inside a dark house. Tap, 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 like the sound from Henderson's mirror. Was something trapped in there? Or waiting? I hurried past, the sound raising the hairs on the back of my neck. Cutting through a small park, the moonlight reflected wetly off the playground slide. I skirted around it, giving it a wide berth. A swing swayed gently in the non-existent breeze, its chains groaning softly. Everything felt wrong, poised, waiting, reaching the edge of the downtown area was necessary to get to the hospital. This was the most dangerous part. Walls of glass shop fronts lined the streets, dark and reflective. Cars parked everywhere. I hugged the buildings, trying to use doorways and recesses for cover, moving in short bursts. My reflection flickered past in a darkened bakery window. I flinched, looked away. Did it look right? I couldn't be sure. Didn't dare check. A movement ahead. Someone stumbling out of an alleyway. Tall, thin, moving with a jerky, unnatural gait. Their head lolled at an odd angle. A change. It shuffled into the street, paused, and tilted its head towards a large puddle shimmering under the moonlight in the middle of the road. It stared intently into the reflection. I froze behind a dumpster, watching, heart pounding. The figure slowly knelt beside the puddle, reaching a hand towards its own reflection. Its reflected hand reached back. Their fingers touched the water's surface simultaneously. Ripples spread outwards. 3 distinct ripples. Rule: 3 ripples in water mean it's watching. Watching what? Or being watched. The figure on the street remained kneeling, motionless, but its reflection slowly stood up, lifted its head, turned, and looked directly at me, across the street, hidden in the shadows. Its eyes were empty sockets, but I felt their gaze. It raised a hand, beckoned me closer. Terror spurred me into motion. I broke cover, sprinting across the street, away from the beckoning reflection, away from the kneeling figure. Behind me, I heard a splash and a wet, tearing sound. I didn't look back. Ran until my lungs burned, ducking into another dark alleyway. Leaned against a cold brick, gasping for air. They could use puddles. They could emerge from them. Nowhere was safe. The hospital felt impossibly far. How many more reflections lay between me and potential safety? How many more chains lurked in the shadows? How many more rules did I not know? I pushed onward, driven by sheer survival instinct, past the department store, its large display windows covered from the inside with taped-up newspapers. Someone else knew the rules. Someone else was fighting back. A small spark of hope ignited, quickly tempered by caution, reached the hospital grounds. Emergency lights flickered weakly around the entrance designated by Dr. Thorne's message, Block C, basement access. The heavy steel door was slightly ajar. Relief warred with suspicion. Was it safe? Or another trap? I listened intently. Faint generator hum from within. No voices. No tapping. No scratching. Taking a deep breath, I slipped inside, pulling the door shut behind me. A dimly lit concrete corridor stretched ahead. Signs pointed towards basement shelter/generator room. I followed them, crowbar held ready. The air down here was warmer, stale, smelling of disinfectant and fear. Rounded a corner and saw it, a fortified area. Heavy doors, reinforced windows looking into a brightly lit room. Inside, a handful of people huddled. Nurses, a couple doctors, a few terrified civilians. Dr. Thorne, gray-haired and grim-faced, stood near the door, holding a heavy-duty flashlight. He saw me, raise the light slightly, examining me. "Another one," he murmured, his voice strained. "Alone?" "Yes," I choked out. "My wife, We know," he said, his eyes full of weary understanding. "Many such stories tonight. Get inside." Quickly, he unbolted the door, let me in, secured it behind me. The relief was overwhelming. Safety, other survivors. I wasn't alone anymore. Dr. Thorne gave me a brief rundown. They'd been monitoring communications until everything cut out, pieced together the mirror connection from fragmented reports and patient behavior before the change fully took hold. They believed covering reflections contained the entities or prevented transference, but breaking them was unpredictable, dangerous. No one knew the source, the cause, only the horrifying effects. Hours passed in the tense, quiet shelter. People shared whispered stories of loss, of narrow escapes, of loved ones changing before their eyes. Dawn approached. The generator sputtered, lights flickered. Fuel was critically low. Staying here wasn't a long-term option. As the first gray light of morning filtered through a high basement window grating, Dr. Thorne gathered us. "We need to assess the situation outside," he said. "See if it's over with daylight. We need volunteers." Silence. Everyone was terrified. I thought of Lily. Was she okay? I had to find out. I had to get to her. "I'll go," I said, my voice hoarse. Another survivor, a young woman named Chloe whose brother worked security here, also volunteered. Dr. Thorne nodded grimly. "Stick together. Avoid reflections at all costs. Even now. Report back immediately if you see anything." Armed with flashlights and heavy wrenches, Chloe and I ascended the basement stairs, emerged into silent dawn-lit hospital corridor. The building felt deserted, but the oppressive atmosphere lingered. We checked nearby wards. Empty beds, scattered equipment, eerie silence. No sign of the changed. No entities in the polished floors or darkened windows. Had daylight banished them? We made our way cautiously toward the main entrance. Sunlight streamed through the shattered doors, illuminating dust motes dancing in the air. Outside, Oakhaven looked like a ghost town. Empty streets, abandoned cars, a chilling stillness. Maybe it's over? Chloe whispered, hope flickering in her eyes. We stepped outside, scanning the surroundings. Nothing moved. Relief began to cautiously bloom in my chest. Maybe we survived. Maybe I could find Lily. I glanced back at the hospital entrance. The glass doors, though shattered, still held large reflective fragments. In one shard, I caught my reflection. Haggard, dirty, but me. Then I saw Chloe's reflection beside mine. She looked normal, too. But behind our reflections, deep within the glass shard, something else flickered. A tall, spindly shadow. Pressing against the glass on the other side, Henderson's distorted face briefly superimposed over it, weeping dark tears. It was still there. Trapped? Waiting? Daylight hadn't stopped it. It was just contained. For now. A sudden, sharp intake of breath from Chloe. "Dan, your reflection." I looked again, heart seizing. My reflection in the shard was slowly, almost imperceptibly, starting to smile. A cold, knowing, predatory smile that didn't belong to me. It raised its hand, mirroring my own, but its fingers twitched, subtly out of sync. Transference. Had I looked too long? Had a shard downstairs caught me unawares? Was it already inside me, waiting? Or was this just the final trick of a shattered mind? I couldn't tell. The line between reality and reflection had blurred, perhaps irrevocably. I am recording this now, using Dr. Thorne's equipment. We retreated back to the basement, sealed the doors again. Daylight offers no sanctuary. We are trapped, low on fuel, low on hope. I need to warn others. If anyone can even receive this, avoid mirrors, avoid reflections, cover everything, trust no one, especially not family, especially not after they might have looked. The rules are real, but maybe the most important rule is the one we haven't figured out yet. How do you know if you're still you? How do you know if the reflection staring back from your own eyes isn't the real monster? I look at my hand holding this microphone. It looks like my hand, but sometimes I think I see it twitch. If you're hearing this, please be careful. And if this account helps you, if it chills you, if it makes you glance nervously at your own reflection, perhaps like this recording, subscribe to this channel. Maybe knowing someone is listening helps keep the real me anchored, or maybe it just gives the mimicry another audience to study. Be vigilant,